Oh yes. Oh yes. We are back for more, lads. Amen and welcome. My name is Anime and welcome back to The Fruit of Grisaya. I believe this is part 58 right now. Or 57. 57 or 58. Whichever one it is, we're back, baby. And I tell you what, we're about to get into some of the nitty-gritty parts now on Sachi's backstory, because Yuji is seemingly not able to play as much, it seems. So, you know the drill, guys. I've got to open my drink for this, because we're in for a big one. So, guys. Oh, yes, that always sounds good. This time it's a normal bottle of Coke. Just a normal bottle of Coke. Nothing too fancy today. Shock. Dudes.
I don't think I can come tomorrow.
Oh.
But I'll play with you the day after that, okay?
分かった。じゃあまた明後日だね。
Is this something to do with what's happening with his sister disappearing by chance?
Yeah, sure. Bye, Sachin.
Aww. Our meeting slightly grew fewer and further between. The loneliness reminded me of the painful days when my parents had first begun, ignoring me in favour of their job. Watching helplessly as Yukon trudged away, my mind churned with sadness and fear. At this rate, Yukon's going to leave me too. I couldn't let that happen again. I couldn't let another person I loved abandon me. This time, I had to stop it somehow. So we know that didn't happen, but the bigger question is what happened after that, or before, like the moments before she was running to us, saying that we'd meet the next day. The next time I saw Yukon, I decided to use my birthday as an excuse to coax him into spending more time with me. Oh, a bit underhanded, but at the same time.
あのね、明日は私の誕生日なんだ。
And then she becomes 10.
Oh, really?
だから明日は私と一緒に遊んでくれる？
He wants to.
Actually, I probably won't be able to play with you for a while, Sachin. It was on her birthday we left, wasn't it? A bunch of stuff happened at home. And I think it's going to be hard for me to get outside from now on.
そんな急にどうして？
Turns out there isn't any such thing as God.
神様？
Yeah, to what you mentioned before. Oh, damn. Nobody's gonna
protect me anymore.
Yeah, his parents just died. Yep. Oh.
I probably won't be able to play in the park like this again.
そんな。
I'm sorry. I know I should have told you sooner, but... Sachin, you always look forward to playing with me. I didn't want to make you sad.
くん。
Oh. But vanishing suddenly without telling you would be even worse. So today, I came to say goodbye.
I only just started this, and already I'm getting the feels.
じゃあゆうくんとはもう会えないの？
I don't know for sure, but it's definitely possible.
そんな。
Give him a hug! And I snuck out of the house today so I have to get back before Dad notices.
Yeah, this is the time the mother went, wasn't it?
ねえ、明日は私の誕生日なんだよ。
Do you know what? He probably felt so bad about it this entire time. Yuji had the worst luck. Especially with this. He had finally got a friend. Other than his sister. And... wow. He had to say this all to her about... what the hell has gone on in Yuji's life so much to get to that point? Where he's literally had the most hardest of backgrounds I've known any character to have, even though I don't know it all yet. Duds.
I'm sorry, I can't celebrate it with you, Sachin. Okay, I'm gonna go now.
待って、ゆうくん。どうしてもう一緒に遊べないの？
It's not
私
that.
そんなのやだよ。せっかく仲 良くなれて、これからもっともっとゆうくんと遊べると思ったのに、それなのに突然お別れしなきゃいけないなんて。
Would you prefer him disappearing out of nowhere and never saying anything? I know she's a kid at this point, but
私、明日も待ってるから。
oh,
ゆうくんが来てくれるまで絶対
the usual place.
いつも
There
の場
it
所で
is.
待ってるから。
いつもの場所で. That's why she went to the playground. She said she'll always be waiting. That was why she remembered that. As Yukon slowly walked away for the very last time, I yelled at the top of my lungs more loudly and more desperately than I ever had before in my entire life. He was probably crying, you know. But he never paused. He never turned back. Yukon's leaving me. Maybe I was right. Maybe everyone I love abandons me. Paralyzed by miserable self-pity, I couldn't even chase after him. What can you do in that situation, really? For a long time after that abrupt farewell, I could only stand stock still at the entrance to the park, wallowing in confusion and pain. Damn. I done on the morning of my 10th birthday. It's gotta be bad, isn't it? I actually don't want a cloak. But we gotta do it. We gotta do it. Rubbing my red swollen eyes as I crawled out of bed, I immediately realised that something was different. For one thing, I couldn't hear the droning of the machines that had been running from early morning hours for months now. And for another, the smell of fresh miso soup was wafting through the air from the kitchen. They cooked? They're actually... Could that be Mom cooking? What about work? Still half asleep and completely nonplussed, I wandered over to the living room, where an unexpected sight was waiting for me. They're there, aren't they?
おはよう、サチ。
おはよう。
Oh, they're finally actually interactive, and it's her birthday. They remembered from their mistake on the ninth one. Mom and Dad were sitting next to each other on the far side of the table, almost as if they'd been waiting for me to wake up. After greeting me, they waited with gentle smiles for my answer. It almost felt like I was reliving a memory from the days before they had become so busy. The sheer surprise was such that it took me a moment to find a response.
おはよう。
どうしたサチ？そんなに目を丸くして。
だって今日は機械の音がしないし、それにお父さんとお母さんがこの時間に家にいるなんて。
そうだな。自分たちのしてきたことを考えれば、サチが驚くのも無理はないか。
They realized. Oh, they realized.
今までが今まででしたからね。
The two of them smiled sadly at each other, then turned right back to me.
あのね、サチ。今日はサチの誕生日だから、お仕事はお休みにしたの。
Yay! Yay! Yes! Oh, this
今まで
is
寂しい
nice!
思いをさせてしまった分の汚名を返上させてもらおうと思ってな。夜になってケーキを食べながら誕生日をお祝いするまで、今日はサチと一緒に遊ぼうと決めた。
Alright, that makes my heart warm. Oh. Yep, the words coming out of their mouths were exactly what I've been longing desperately to hear for so many months. It felt so much like a dream that I very nearly pinched myself. Mum and Dad would be at my side again. They used to be like they used to be. Just like when every day was full of happiness. We could play together as a family once more. That was what I wanted all along, even while I was playing with Yukon. I had daydreamed countless times about this very moment. And now it was real. My parents had given me the gentle, caring words I'd longed to hear. My heart should have been bursting with joy. But you're sad about Yukon, aren't you? And yet, what I felt inside was dark, intense anger. As though a hidden flame, long smouldering in some hidden cranny of my mind, had found the oxygen it needed to burst into a blazing wildfire. Sachi? It was static. No matter how hard I tried, they completely ignored me. Why now all of a sudden? Oh, these types of thoughts. Oh, yikes. Do they seriously think taking one day off work is gonna make me forget how sad I've been all this time? Good luck with that. Yukon took their place, but now even he's gone.
So why? Why now? Why do they think they can just... Cold black bitterness spreading through my body. I lifted my head to give my parents their answer. She's gonna say a horrible thing, isn't she?
いいよ。別に遊んでくれなくてもいい。
Yep. Yuji leaving pushed her over.
私は一人でも平気だし、お父さんとお母さんが大好きなお仕事を休んでもらってまで一緒にいてもらおうなんて思わない。
She's just gonna lay down the smackdown.
だから、そんなに私の誕生日がお祝いしたいなら、二人だけでやればいいんだよ。
The instant those sulky words left my mouth, I bolted out of the living room.
サチ。
待って、サチ。
She's out. She's going to find Yuji, isn't she? Oh, this is the flashback. They called out to me from behind, but I just kept running out the door away from our house. Not that I was heading anywhere in particular. Anywhere would be fine as long as Mum and Dad weren't there. I didn't want to see their faces. I didn't want to hear their voices. Yep, childish outbursts are cruel, aren't they? I ran as fast as my legs could carry me, my hands clenched tightly into fists, biting my lower lip until the sickening taste of iron felt... Ouch! Ouch! Ow! You tasted iron, yet you bit your lip open, well done. As I fled, the only thing in my mind was anger at my parents. Looking back on it now, it wasn't much more of an irrational outburst of pent-up emotion. Well, it had been a whole year near enough, and they didn't do anything, and when you tried to do something, they didn't even look at you. That was the bit that made me angry. They didn't even hear what she had to say. They just went on without even acknowledging her existence half the time, or acknowledging that she was trying to show them something. But still, rather than feeling happy at their promise to celebrate my birthday together, I was outraged at my parents for wrapping up all the sadness and pain I'd felt for so long in those bland words about feeling lonely. He's not there, isn't he? And in the end, my blind aimless flight carried me to that familiar playground. I hadn't consciously thought about making my way here. Nah, you wouldn't, because you're hoping that Yuji would be here. If anything, I was intentionally trying to stay away from the area close to my home. At some point, I definitely passed a hospital much further away than this place. And that's the one she's in right now, I'd bet. Even so, some unconscious part of my mind has guided me to this destination. The impact of the previous day's events must have been just that strong. I couldn't simply accept that unbelievably abrupt goodbye. As Yukon left, I had screamed that I'd be waiting for him today. And if I forced a one-sided promise on him, maybe he'd slipped out of his house to see me. That selfish childish hope was still alive inside. Did she actually wait? She did it as a kid, didn't she?
今何時だろう。
I don't know. Wiping the sweat from my forehead, I looked up at the tall clock tower nearby. It was a little past 10 in the morning. You can always get into the playground about 1:30 on weekends, but I decided I might as well start waiting now. She did. She waited like a dog, waiting for their owner. That way I'd be here even if Yukon came early. And if Mum and Dad showed up, I could always just run away again.
そうだよね。
Yeah, but this wasn't a way to go about your parents in a way. I understand she's a kid. She was a kid then. I get it. When you don't get the attention you need from the parents, if it's not even enough, or if they're too busy doing other things, and you can't even see them, it gets really lonely. It really does. Trying to disguise the pain and anxiety growing inside me, I forced myself to believe in this spur-of-the-moment plan. I walked over to the swing set, where the two of us had always sat side by side and settled into my seat. She was even sitting on that seat when we got there as well. I just realised that now. The day before, I told Yukon I would wait for him in this park, but it wasn't like he promised to come play with me. He hadn't even responded to my words. There was no guarantee Yukon would come to this park. Still, I had absolute faith that he'd show up eventually, and I was pretty confident that I could wait patiently until then. But as the clock's hour hand made its way past the 5, and my vehicle approached its 8th hour, even that childish confidence began to waver. She waited the whole day.
ダメなのかな。
She waited the whole day.
昨日でお別れしなきゃいけなかったのかな。
He didn't want to break it off. Of course he didn't. The playground that had always felt too small for us suddenly seemed an unbelievably large and empty place. You couldn't have told me clearly enough that he couldn't play with me anymore. That even getting outside would be difficult from now on. Could he even make it to the park if he wanted to? Having regained the ability to think rationally with the passage of time, my mind ruthlessly chipped away at my unfounded confidence. And finally, I arrived at the realization that I'd backed myself into a miserable corner. Yep. Once that timid thought passed through my mind, it was only a matter of time. The painful emotions I'd been covering up with my anger came bubbling back to the surface. I was really mean to Mum and Dad again. Yep. They were going to play with me and I ruined everything. This isn't any different from last year. Even if I go home tonight, my birthday's just going to be Mum and Dad yelling at me. No, they're not going to yell. They're not going to yell. No. No. They better not yell anyway. For many reasons. With each thought, the anxiety and regret swelled up uncontrollably inside me. Before I knew it, fat tears were running down my cheeks.
お父さん、お母さん。サチ。
When I squeezed my eyes closed to shut out the world, I saw my parents in my mind's eye. Their faces gentle and kind. No matter how lonely they made me, and no matter how much I tried to hate them for it, in the end, I still loved them both. Very much. Of course. There he is. And in a moment I finally understood. I thought I could hear those same familiar voices. Not in my memories, but somewhere nearby. I raised my head with a jerk, indifferent now that the tears that continued to pour from my eyes. Outside the park, just on the other side of the road, I saw my mum and dad. Even from a distance, I could tell they were covered in sweat. That they'd been desperately searching for me. Mum and dad are still mum and dad after all. The people I love the most in the world. I should have known that all along. Why couldn't I have accepted them from the start? No. There was no longer any point in thinking about it. I was wrong. Now all I had to do was apologise. All I had to do was jump into their arms and yell, I'm sorry for being so selfish. Yes, do it. Once the two of them noticed my presence, their expressions instantly melted with relief. I dashed out of the park, overwhelmed with happiness. And I heard a sudden roar of displaced air, like the sound of a fierce wind. In the next instant, the world before me was filled with a colossal jet-black blur. Wait, what? Excuse me? Did her parents just get run over? I heard the sound of something colliding with something else. Then screeched into a halt nearby. That was her parents. I had reflexively squeezed my eyes shut. When I timidly opened them, I was greeted with the unimaginable. Oh my god, no! Mum and Dad were stretched out flat on the road surface, almost as if sleeping face down. Oh my god. No. This is too cruel. She just finally got... She had everything taken from her in the space of 2 days. Are you freaking kidding me? Mum and Dad were stretched out. Yeah, Dad didn't even stir. A machine with a dead battery. Mum twitched convulsively again and again. A broken toy. The blood pooling under their bodies crept slowly across the orange-tinted asphalt, dyeing the road a dusky red. Oh my god. And it was the Isekai truck and all. God damn you, Isekai truck, you ruin everything! Oh god. The mum's still alive. Those agonized groans, so totally unlike any other sound I had imagined I'd ever heard my mother make filled me with a terror too pure and primal to express in words. My ears had begun to ring. Oh, why did you have to do it like that? I know that ringing and I hate it. As if to drown out the unpleasant sound of the truck's engine idling nearby. Every moment that passed, my breaths became faster and faster. I couldn't fully grasp what had just happened before my eyes. Yeah, this is BS on the next level. But instinctively, I understood that it was something so awful as to wipe everything that had come before into complete irrelevance. Damn. What do I do? What do I do? Right, I've got to call for help. At times like this, call 911 first. Hey, you're in Japan. It's 110, goddammit. My mind was still capable of thinking about what I should do next. And yet my body was frozen on the spot, as if physically rejecting the incomprehensible situation before me. So this is the PTSD then. At the sound of my name, I turned my eyes back to the ground. My mother was dragging herself slowly across the road toward me, desperately trying to communicate something. The sight instantly reduced me to a panicked frenzy. All I could do now was shriek her name. Lifting her trembling upper body ever so slightly off the ground, she slowly raised her face and then... Why? Excuse me? Wait, what? And then she spoke those words. In that instant, I thought I could hear something snap inside me. As my body began to quiver uncontrollably, the world was covered in a black shroud. The split second after the buzzing and droning inside my head finally went silent, I lost consciousness entirely. Apparently, a local passerby quickly reported the incident, and it wasn't long before the ambulances carried us away. Not that I remember any of that. When I opened my eyes for the next time, a full day had passed, and I was lying in a colourless hospital room. And that's what caused it, wasn't it, being in that room? Oh, no. Yeah, it's the same roof. So that's what happened to a... Damn it! The bullshit levels are strong! Wow!
Sachi, 目が覚めたのか?
Her uncle. Oh yeah, she lived at her uncle's house, didn't she? I heard a chair scraping against the linoleum floor nearby. A moment later, a familiar face appeared before me.
ああ、おじさんだ。それより体は大丈夫か? どこかが痛かったり気持ち悪かったりしないか?
I gingerly moved my arms and legs several times, but I couldn't find anything wrong with my body.
大丈夫。
そうか。よかった。
My uncle smiled broadly at my words, tears in the corner of his eyes. Still a little dopey from waking up, I felt a simple curiosity about the intense emotion so evident in his face.
ねえ、おじさん、何かあったの?
Oh. When I put the question into words, my uncle averted his eyes, his expression filled with reluctance and
お
pain.
前の両親はな、サチ、
Yeah, they're dead.
事故にあったんだ。
事故。
Yep. As I dully repeated my uncle's words, a memory that had slipped cleanly from my mind slowly re-emerged. Oh. A small park died in the light of the evening sun. A small park. Oh, sorry. The smell of burning rubber, the sound of a truck idling. And finally, Mum and Dad lying in pools of their own blood. Yep. Here we go. Here comes the screams. And the ringing's there. Damn. The scene flashed before my eyes in perfect clarity. Reflexively, I tried to look away, but there was no escape. And in the next moment, my ears were filled with that awful droning buzz.
サチ、
My field of vision grew slowly narrower, and a choking sense of paralysis spread through my body. Yeah. If you can't get the image out of your mind, you can't escape it. It felt as though my body temperature had suddenly plunged. A violent wave of nausea and a splitting headache attacked me all at once.
おいサチ大丈夫か
Nope. I'm passing out, Uncle.
サチ
I'm traumatized. Help me. Oh, am I going into cardiac
先生
arrest?
サチが目を覚ましたんですが急に苦しみ出して
Oh, wow. As the world grew dim before my eyes, I could vaguely make out my uncle shouting desperately for someone's attention. Wait, now I can't see or hear anything. Oh, guess I'm fainting again. The instant the thought ran through my head, I plunged into nothingness. Wow. That's trauma for you. Wow. It would be a full 3 days before I woke up again. Wow. When the nurse noticed my eyes were open, she immediately called the doctor in charge, who conducted a quick examination on the spot. After determining that I wasn't so severely impaired as to cause difficulties in ordinary conversation, the doctor began to explain many things to me. Uncle Akihiro, who came running over to the hospital, soon joined in as well. That day, Mom and Dad had been in a traffic accident right before my eyes. Just as I ran out toward them, a truck with a drunk driver behind the wheel had barreled through the intersection, ignoring a red light. I did have the thought that maybe they didn't see traffic, but in Japan, they're very trusting with signals, so yeah. Yikes. Wow. Hit head on by the massive vehicle which had been travelling at 60 kilometers an hour or more. My dad had died instantly from massive blunt force trauma. Wow. That is, physically speaking, why the mother is alive. That's actually technically true. Women are more likely to survive a car crash than a man, because a man, their body, even though it has more muscle mass, they have more pain receptors. Whereas a woman can survive more pain on average than a man can, and also a woman can lose more of her blood before dying compared to a man. There you go, some science facts from Yusha. Woohoo! Mum had miraculously survived, but at the moment she was still unconscious, fighting for her life in critical condition. She's in a coma, isn't she? When I learned all of this, I didn't cry and grieve, and I didn't explode with anger against the man who caused the accident. The words the doctor used were really hard to understand, so a lot of the conversation went over my head. That probably had something to do with it. But more than anything else, nothing about the situation felt remotely real to me. Sachi?
やっぱりちゃんと動く
That night, finally alone in my darkened hospital room, I flexed my legs and arms thoughtfully. No matter how many times I tested it, my body didn't feel injured. I could move just as free and easily as before. And maybe Dad was dead. Maybe Mom was lying unconscious somewhere in this hospital. But I hadn't seen either of them yet. I think there's a reason you haven't seen your mother yet. Oh. So maybe everyone telling me about this accident was just lying. Maybe if I were to get up out of the bed and head straight home, my parents would be waiting for me there. Yeah, a kid would think that. A kid would think that. Actually, no. Any person would think that to escape reality. They're the stage of denial. My thoughts persistently returned to these comforting, paper-thin theories.
お医者さんが嘘を言うはずないし
Yep. And more importantly, in the depths of my mind, a clear memory remained. You've not gotten rid of it. Uh-oh. The instant my thoughts brushed against that fragment of the past, I could hear my heart throb violently in my chest. Panic attack? A trauma-induced panic attack? Seizure even. Oh god. This time the shrill buzzing that had accompanied the similar incident 3 days earlier was conspicuously absent. Okay. In exchange, the most severe headache of my life fell upon me with all the suddenness and force of an avalanche. sharp burst of pain, as if my body was warning me not to touch an open wound, robbed me of the will to think. Then I'll just stop trying. I'm sick of fainting. So you lock the memory away. It's like an unconscious coping mechanism to not make her think of the event. Wow. Breathe, Sachi. Breathe. As soon as I emptied my mind, the headache vanished with astonishing speed. My breaths came easier, and I could feel my heartbeat gradually returning to its normal rhythm. There's nothing wrong with my body after all. Nothing like this ever happened to me before that day.
私の頭に残ってるあの光景は
Don't think about it. As my mind began to reach a conclusion I didn't want to accept, I involuntarily recalled the agony I just endured. If I remember what happened, the pain will come back. The ensuing wave of terror wiped all else from my mind. Pulling the blankets over my head in search of refuge, waited for the morning to come. I'm probably going to record 2 videos of the Fruit Griside tonight. I think that'd be good. Did that incident they keep talking about really happen? Several days later, that disbelief still lingering in my mind, I was taken to visit my mum in the intensive care unit for the first time. After carefully disinfecting my hands with alcohol, the nurses dressed me up in a hospital gown, just like theirs, then finally ushered me into a room, and just as they told me, my mother was inside. How bad is she, Doc? Come on. But the person lying on the bed in front of me wasn't the mum I knew. What? There was a huge oxygen mask covering her mouth, bandages were wrapped around her head, numerous tubes were sticking out of her body, connecting her to all sorts of machines. Yeah, that's the ICU for you. I've had this with a family member. It's I can picture the sight. I don't even want to picture the sight. I know what it's like. I know what it looks like. The sight reminded me of nothing so much as the Frankenstein monsters I'd seen in movies. But this was reality. That day, the accident happened exactly as they told me, and now my mum was sleeping in a nest of machines. Oh, don't throw up. In the instant I finally perceived that undeniable fact as reality, I struck a powerful wave of nausea. Yep. The hospital room grew dark before me, and in that darkness a fuzzy image flickered before my eyes, disappearing for the briefest of moments only to re-emerge, like some pale, indistinct horror bobbing up and down just beneath the surface of a muddy lake. Oh, yep, she threw up. Unable to endure the sickness swelling up from the core of my body, I vomited up the contents of my stomach on the spot, and was hastily carried out of the room by the nurse who had accompanied me. After that, I tried to return to the ICU numerous times, but the outcome was always the same. She can't even look at her own mother. Anything to do with the event leads to that. Yikes. The moment I saw my mother in her hospital bed, I experienced severe nausea and was quickly removed from the room. My doctor took these events very seriously and eventually forbid me from visiting Mum for the time being. That night, I laid awake in bed until well after the lights had been turned out, unable to fall asleep. I hadn't suffered any real injury, so sitting around all day often left me with too much physical energy. Oh, I know that feeling. Sometimes I would go an entire day without feeling hungry, or lie awake in bed for hours. I know about the hungry feeling. And today, the things I heard. Excuse me. I'd heard during the daytime were also weighing heavily on my mind. I lay in my bed, staring up at the now familiar tiles on the ceiling, and thought about my parents.
もうこの世界にお父さんはいない。
Yep, sadly.
それにお母さんだって。
She might never open her eyes again. Sometimes I'd overhear my uncle talking about it with the nurses in lower tones. Apparently Mum was sick with something called persistent vegetative state, Yep, she's in a coma. So her brain's still got activity, but her body's not responding. For all I could figure out, that meant the possibility she'd wake up again was really, really low. Yep. So that means not even her system is allowing her to breathe. So she is completely unconscious, and the only thing that's probably keeping her alive right now is that oxygen mask, making sure that she can breathe properly in her state. Mum's going to sleep, be asleep forever and ever. In other words, I'd never be able to talk to her again. And that was her birthday. It's really messed up that I literally just said happy birthday to you in my head. I hate myself for this. I didn't want to think that. I'm sorry. I apologize. A bit of frustration welled up inside me at the thought. Yeah, it's not fair.
そんなの嫌だよ。
It really wasn't fair on Sachi. But no matter how I tried to deny the reality, nothing would change. Even if my parents' job would no longer keep us apart, the blissful days I wished for would never return. The more I understood the situation, the heavier my despair grew. Tears spilled relentlessly from my eyes. My mind was filled with a miserable new question. Why? Why had it turned out like this?
あの日は
Yeah.
私の誕生日だったのに。
Happy birthday to you.
本当なら、ゆうくんと一日中遊んで、去年よりもずっと楽しい日になるはずだったのに。
Jesus. But in reality, I hadn't been able to see him. And because of that sudden accident, Dad was dead and Mum was sleeping forever. Everything I loved had been taken away from me in one horrible instant.
どうしてこんなことになったの？私、
Kikyo.
こんなの嫌だよ。
That also works. Damn.
どうして？
That why? Yeah, why did her mother say Sachi Boste? Why did she say that specifically? When I squeezed my eyes shut in an attempt to escape cruel reality of my situation, I thought I heard someone's voice in my mind.
ねえ、サチ、
Oh no.
どうしてあの時家を飛び出してしまったの？どうしていい子にしていてくれなかったの？
Oh no! She's twisting it inside her head.
お母さんもお父さんもトラックにはねられて、
Oh no!
とてもとても痛かったのよ。
Oh no. I agree with the sirens in the background. If you can hear them anyway, but she's making it worse than herself by imagining what her mother meant. She's gonna scream, isn't she? Yep. Since the day I accepted that the accident really happened, these things have been lurking unacknowledged in the depths of my mind. The accident happened because of me. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. If I'd listened to my parents and stayed in the house, they wouldn't have been in the street when the truck ran the red light. No, you can never predict when some dickwad like that will come at anyone. That could have been anyone. Even Yugen. I selfishly tried to manipulate him into coming to the park. Maybe that's why he didn't show up. Maybe because he finally got sick of me. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. In other words. No, it's not. No, it's not. And the ringing's back. As I spoke those words, the ringing in my ears returned for the first time in a while. Harsher and shriller than ever before. A dull paralysis spread through my body, very similar to what I used to experience before fainting from overexertion on the playground. Your brain goes into the automatic shutdown. Jesus. But the venomous chill crawling up my spine clearly signified that this was something else entirely. Something shadowy and unfamiliar and malevolent was attacking my body. Oh, wait, what? My heart thumped violently in my chest, and in that moment, the world froze around me. The air wasn't cold, it was solid ice. So frigid as to cause physical pain. My clenched teeth began to chatter loudly. Jesus. My mouth wide open, I desperately gulped down oxygen in little gasps, every breath a painful struggle. I was wrong, and something even worse is coming next. The voice rang out in my mind again, as I knew it would. Oh.
サチ、どうして？
What's happening? Oh, I had to hit it again. Yeah! Well, that was sudden. Hello. And so the nightmares began.
どう？さっちゃん、今日は食べられる？ごめんなさい。食べられません。そう。
2 weeks after that horrible night, it had become my daily routine to turn aside the spoonfuls of my food, or food my nurses offered me. At night, when exhaustion overcame me, I was forced to relive the moment of my parents' accident over and over again. By now, I had completely lost the will to live. Can I just mention she's 10? She's 10 right now. The nightmares didn't just play back my memories of that day. They caused me physical agony incomparable to any suffering I'd endured while awake. My appetite disappeared in a matter of days, and of course, I couldn't get any real rest. After about a week, my body had grown visibly frail, and my natural energy was replaced by lethargy and weakness. 2 days after a concerned nurse reported the situation to my doctor, he came to my bedside and asked me about a bunch of things. Can you hear voices from nowhere in particular? Can you see people who can't really be there? Pretty sure the questions are mostly like that. And that's how he managed to suss out that you had PTSD, right? And from my answers, it took the doctor no time at all to announce that I was suffering from a specific illness. To summarize it in his words, a mental illness caused by temporary exposure to catastrophically intense stress. Yep. Sorry, I was reading. With that diagnosis, it became clear that I'd suffered my own wound in that accident, and my previously scheduled discharge from the hospital was postponed indefinitely. Oh. How long were you in the hospital? Not that my stay had produced any improvements so far. If anything, it was the opposite. The nightmare still tormented me relentlessly, and my treatment had progressed from medication and the IV to medication and the IV tube, sorry. Through the tube, the nutrients I needed to survive were pumped directly into my veins. Through powerful sleeping pills, they induced temporary periods of oblivious rest. It felt less like I was living and more like I was being kept alive. Yeah, you put yourself in that one by losing all of the bits from the mental trauma. One day, this stagnant routine was disrupted slightly. I learned that I had been given permission for an outing as part of a new phase of my treatment. An outing?
それじゃあ、あっちの方を歩いてみようか。
Oh no, you're gonna take us to the park, aren't you? Oh no. I was given permission to leave the hospital, escorted by one of the nurses on the condition that we stayed well away from both my house and the site of the accident. Oh, thank goodness you're not taking me there. With no particular destination in mind, we walked aimlessly around the town. Unlike the hospital, which was constantly filled with a sterile antiseptic scent, the town smelled of the season of people living their ordinary lives. In the distance, I could hear the chattering of grade schoolers on the way home. For the first time in weeks, I wondered vaguely how my friends at school were doing. Yeah, you've never even mentioned them once. The change of pace wasn't unpleasant, but my feelings were as dark and clouded as ever. I knew all too well that the physical relief of this moment was temporary. Unless the doctor drugged me into unconsciousness, I'd see that dream again. The moment of the accident would flash before my eyes. The moment, over and over. And my body would react as if it were really twitching in my bed. If I wept in the dream, I woke up with my eyes swollen and red. If I just screamed stop in the dream, I woke up with my throat rubbed raw. Waking up screaming is not nice. It's not nice. But worst of all, when the loop finally came to an end, my parents would raise their blood-covered faces from the roads and curse me. An incessant, bitter rain of hateful words from which I was powerless to escape. Dad died instantly in Mom lost consciousness soon after the accident. The last part of that dream was fake. I did understand that rationally, but every morning I awoke to find the burden of guilt resting slightly heavier on my mind. The border between reality and that cruel fiction grew indistinct. People, when it comes to things that are out of their control, with the circumstances that build up to it, they always think, what if? It's sad when you say that, but there's nothing you can really do. There's nothing. Not in this situation. You have to look forward. If you get stuck behind, you will rot. You'll forget everything, and you'll go insane. Not only that, you'll shut everyone else out. It felt entirely possible that horrible nightmare would stay with me for the rest of my life. Sorry, I'm supposed to be entertaining you right now, but this game is actually putting a dark mood on me, and I don't like it. I had committed the sin of disobedience. That dream was my punishment for treating my parents cruelly when they tried to celebrate my birthday with me. You're gonna think it's your fault. Oh. That's a good question, because this is the bit I wanted to know most, was what happened to her. Well, especially after this incident, because I thought as far as Yuji going, it didn't matter how many times I apologized in my dreams, it didn't matter how much suffering those nightmares brought me, this guilt wouldn't simply disappear. It had already grown very nearly unendurable. My heart and mind were on the verge of breaking outright. And still, I couldn't find anything close to an answer. And as I whispered that plea to myself, I noticed a parent and child walking slowly down the sidewalk toward us. Oh, a mother, her face clearly troubled, and her young son yanking rudely at her hand.
ねえママ、カツオマンの人形買ってよ。
だからお人形はこの前買ったばかりでしょ。
ああ、それでもカツオマンが欲しいの。ささみ怪人と戦わせるんだもん。
もう、
No.
またそんなわがままを言って、いつまでも悪い子でいるとみんなマサヤのことが嫌いになって誰もいなくなっちゃうわよ。
Oh. Oh, that's the worst thing to hear. The moment I heard those words, it was as though an icy hand had seized my heart.
やだ、そんなのやだよ。
じゃあお人形は我慢しないとね。
わかった。
Don't compare their situation to yours, Sachi. You waited a whole year.
そうやってマサヤがいい子でいてくれればお人形もまた買ってあげるからね。
うん。
The mother and child passed by my side. Their expressions completely transformed into smiles. Uh-oh. Oh. No.
そうだったんだ。
You can't be
こうな
selfish.
ってしまったのは
No.
やっぱり私のせい。私が言うことを聞かない悪い子だったから。
No, Sachi.
お母さんもゆうくんもみんな
No,
私の
they
前から
didn't.
いなくなったんだ。
No, they didn't. I muttered those words under my breath as if to persuade myself that they were true. And in the next moment, I thought I could hear a switch being flipped inside my
だ
head.
ったらいい子になろう。
She snapped at that point.
本当のいい子に
That literally does anything. Oh. Alright, I'm going to do 5 more minutes on this part, then I'm going to end this episode, and then I'm going to get straight to recording another episode after like a little break. After that episode, my body underwent a mysterious change. I went to bed that night without any sleeping pills, but nonetheless reached morning without seeing the nightmare. Since the dreams began, falling asleep without medication had always meant a night of terrible suffering. The sudden exception to the rule surprised me greatly, because she subconsciously created her own placebo. Damn. That's amazing, but I didn't really have any idea why the nightmares would have stopped all of a sudden. Maybe I had just happened to pull the lucky straw this once. Nah, you created a mental block on yourself. As it turned out, however, these worries were unjustified. These nightmares grew steadily less frequent, and my physical condition improved as well. Observing these changes happily, a nurse told me to keep it up. Don't let those bad dreams come back. By the way of encouragement, I promptly focused on engraving those words into my mind.
悪夢を見ないようにしないといけない悪夢を見ないようにしないといけない
So this is how she got a habit of doing anything she was told. Every time I whispered the mantra to myself, a voice rang out in my mind. In my head, sorry. You mustn't be disobedient. A good girl does what she's told. A bad girl doesn't. That's like that's a unconscious threat right there. Ooh. And when the voice fell silent, the scene flashed through my mind for the briefest of instants. As a warning. A reminder. I never ever wanted to feel that way again, and so I was determined to become a good girl. If I'm a good girl, I won't lose anything. If I'm a good girl, maybe Mummy and Daddy will forgive me someday.
いい子にならなきゃいい子にならなきゃいい子にならなきゃいい子にならなきゃ
This is a very bad cycle, this. Over time, my mind was filled with those words. When someone asked me to finish my dinner, I cleaned my plate, even if it meant fighting back nausea to stuff food into my stomach. Before long, I was even capable of willing myself into unconsciousness if someone told me to go to sleep right after lights out.
はいわかりました
And she became a robot. Whenever I said those words and nodded my assent, the nurses called me a good girl, with smiles on their faces. And whenever I heard that phrase, I could feel my sin growing ever so slightly lighter, my sense of self ever so slightly weaker. Wow, so that's how she got the obedient part of her. Wow. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go down till the little spinny thing comes up, and then I'm gonna end this part. It took some time afterward, but eventually I was discharged from the hospital, conditional on my return for thorough, regular checkups. Excuse me. The reason, naturally, was that my painful nightmares had grown extremely rare, and my sleep and eating habits had returned to normal. The rapid and dramatic improvement in my symptoms did quite surprise my doctor and nurses, but I'm fairly sure the adults convinced themselves my little trip outside the hospital for a change of pace has simply succeeded beyond their expectations. Okay. Oh. Wow. What to say? I think we're like at not even the halfway point of her backstory right now. I don't think we're halfway, because now we know where her obedient attitude came from. And it's from the cause of trauma, and she made her own placebo to make it more copable, to make it feel like she can repent for something that she believes is her fault. Wow, that's a harsh self-punishment right there, if I say so myself.
セーブするわ
So let me just make a save, just in case. Yeah, let's put it there. Crazy apple. So, there we go. That is this part done. Because now we need to distinguish where her habit of army-like behavior comes from. I doubt it's just from this, and I have a feeling that her uncle may have some involvement. But that's for the next recording. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you want any more from me, and I shall see you in the next video. So, guys, I will most certainly see you next time. Oh, boy. Oh, we're getting some deep lore in here.